You're a rock star, Victoria. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's start over. I'm on topic 1 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which is your foundational models form the base you must have before adding creativity in order for it to be successful. So just a couple questions, because I'm testing your knowledge of the MREA. What is the foundational model of the MREA? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a triangle. It has 3 words going around the outside of the triangle and then 4 words inside the triangle from bottom up.
Leads, listings, leverage.
Perfect. What's the next part of that, guy? What's the next part, guys?
Economic.
So I'll give you a hint. It's on page, give me 1 second. I'm not James Shaw. I don't have all the numbers
44.
memorized like he does.
Page
It's
44.
on page 44, the foundational model of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. What are the 4 stages of growth?
Think.
Receive, net, earn, and think.
Okay. Think $1 million, earn $1 million, net $1 million, receive $1 million. Now, Gary Keller, since the book has been written, has added a 4th. Does anybody know what that is?
Share.
There you go. That's it, Marietta. How'd I do? Am I getting that? Am I getting that right? Yes. It's giveaway. Give $1 million.
Thank you.
So think $1 million, earn $1 million, net $1 million, receive $1 million, give away $1 million. Everybody can say hi to Casper. He's in the background. So I want to go right to page 37 and let's talk. Let's share what Gary has to say on models. The trick to getting the most out of your creativity is always to start with a set of proven foundational models for success. Set of proven foundational models for success. Once we find success with our initial models, we can then allow for creative thinking. But only after we follow the models do we allow ourselves to tweak, innovate, or refine and fiddle until the models work to the level of our expectations. Notice that Gary didn't say change the models completely. Notice he didn't say reinvent your business. He said tweak, fiddle, make minor changes. At the bottom of the page, Gary goes on to say, many people don't fully realize this. More than likely, they will try to use creativity as a shortcut or as a way to cover up for their lack of properly or fully implementing the model. How many of you are using shortcuts? You don't have to answer that question. And it goes on to share on page 39, what I've discovered is that by starting with models, you can push your ceilings higher. Remember E to P, we all have a natural ceiling of achievement. And by beginning with models, we can push that ceiling higher and eventually break through them. But even great models will have limitations. So eventually you'll hit a new ceiling. Will you ever get to a point in your real estate career where you don't hit ceilings? Say no.
Oh.
That'll never happen. You will constantly hit ceilings. This is when I encourage creativity. This is when I encourage you to start adapting the model. Don't abandon it. So moving on to page 126. I'll get there. This is what Gary has to say. Start with a proven model, and only when you are confident you have your bearings and know your reference points, dare to strike down a new path to creativity. Start with a proven model, and only When you have your bearings and know your reference points, dare to strike down a new path to creativity. Let me share something from MegaCamp, and this was from the interview with Keith Cunningham. Here's what Keith had to say. The key to achieving goals is to execute a plan to convert those goals into an executable yellow brick road. The reason most people don't achieve their goals is because they don't pick a game they can win. So pick a game you can win and then build a yellow brick road from where you are to where you want to go. What does that say to you? What do you hear? We're on a trip to Oz, and the key to achieving Oz is to have a yellow brick road that we can follow. What does that say to you? What do you hear when I ask you that question? Go ahead, take yourself off mute. Talk to me, raise your hand, yell at me, do something.
Okay, so it just sounds like it's so simple that whatever goal we have, wherever we want to be, is really in our hands to get there. It's not random, it's not chance or luck, it's really in our hands.
Okay, stay
It
with me.
also says that the yellow brick road has to be there to follow. No need to reinvent it or build it. It's there. Follow the yellow brick road. It doesn't say build it.
But it's also about the consistency, right?
It is
The consistency of following the yellow brick road rather than going to the orange road.
Yeah, I hear stay on the path.
Yeah, yeah. Ordinary things done consistently over time equal extraordinary results.
You don't follow it, you don't get to Oz.
You don't follow it, you don't get to Oz.
And John, he was saying that even though people always look at Oz, you have to look down in front of you, otherwise you're not going to get there. You can't just keep looking at the pie in the sky.
Yeah, keep your eye on the path. Absolutely, good job. Yeah. Does the path to Oz ever change? It's a tricky question.
I'd say yes.
I say yes.
I agree. I do believe that you have to make adjustments along the way. I don't believe that the same path is going to work for everybody on this call. I think it's a different path, but at the same time, don't forget, begin with models. In other words, leads. Here's a question. How many new leads do you need every week in order to hit your goals? So if you're taking notes, please write that down and please do your homework and figure out what the answer to that question is. How many leads do you need every week in order to achieve your goals? This is your yellow brick road, guys. Pay attention. Here's the next question. What's the path to success? What's your lead generation plan? Your plan is the yellow brick road. Your lead generation plan is the yellow brick road. So, what's the path to success? What's your lead generation plan? Next question. Where does success happen? I've said this on this call 100 times.
In your mind first.
Okay, mindset matters. 90% of success is mindset. You're absolutely correct, Allie. And where does success happen?
Consistency and practice.
Okay, consistency and practice, Valerie. You're absolutely correct once again. And where does success happen?
Follow up.
Follow-up. Success happens in the follow-up. So the next question is, what's your pipeline plan? In order to create emotional proximity, emotional proximity simply means that I'm going to hire the person who has consistently followed up with me over time and who is closest to me when I reach that point where I get serious about listing my home or buying a home. So what is your pipeline plan in order to create emotional proximity? Is your pipeline plan part of the yellow brick road? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, last question. What is your monthly standard for listings taken, and what does your life look like when you are hitting your standard? What is your monthly standard for listings taken, and what does your life look like when you are hitting that standard? Be specific. Don't just say my monthly standard is 4 listings every month and my life is better. No, better is not going to inspire you. I want you to be specific. What does your life look like when you are hitting that monthly listing standard? And notice that I said it's a standard, it's not a goal. A goal is negotiable, a standard is not. All right, take yourself off mute. Talk to me. What are you thinking?
Well, I think a lot of this is like makes you think,
Mhm.
you know, like it makes you have to sit down and reevaluate. I think even when you do business plan, you still have to reevaluate on a regular basis because you get like instead of getting consistent in regards to the actions, maybe you get consistent on not doing the actions. Right? It brings you back in.
Like that. Being consistent in those actions create habits. When your lead generation standards become a habit, everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to a point where lead generation is a part of what you do naturally, just like getting up, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, and going to work, lead generation, 20 conversations every single day happens naturally, and it's a habit. When it doesn't, it feels weird. When you get to that point, everything else changes. Topic number 1 is your foundational models form the base you must have before adding creativity in order for it to be successful. The reason most people are not succeeding is because they're trying to build a 20-story building starting on the 10th floor. That doesn't work. When you're building a tall building, what's that foundation look like? Does it go deep?
Better.
Yes, absolutely. Foundation is the most important part of the building. Without the foundation, everything else fails.
Can I use an example?
Talk to me, Ryan.
Yes, the Tower of Pisa. I think everyone knows it, right?
Yes.
Tower. The reason why it's leaning is because the foundation was not set right. So the engineers did not calculate the grounds of how strong the foundation has to be. So that's why it's leaning. It's not because it's not some fancy thing an architect decided to do. It's because it's leaning. So that's why foundation is important. So if you don't have a strong foundation, doesn't matter how tall you are, doesn't matter how big you are, doesn't matter how beautiful you are always gonna fall.
I love that. Great job. And so here's a follow-up question then. If I am selling 36 homes a year and I'm new to real estate, I've just got into business and I'm not even in production yet. Okay, cool. And I'm building this 20-story building. And this 20-story building is 4 homes sold every month, 48 homes sold in the next 12 months, $480,000 in gross commission. What does that foundation need to look like today based on where the business will be versus where it is today? If you don't start out with an 8-lane highway and you only build the 8-lane highway once there's too much traffic, then your road is always going to be under construction because you're never going to catch up. Start out with the 8-lane highway.
I love that, John, because I'm constantly in in a little bit of a struggle with my market center to stop having classes in the morning. You know, they're like, well, the agents, they're not in production, so they might as well come in and take classes. And I'm like, well, you don't teach somebody how to play tennis the wrong way and say, oh, I'll teach you the right way later.
Sure, Valerie. Absolutely. I understand that. Yeah. So here's how you change that. You succeed at such a high level. I don't mean to put pressure on you here, Valerie. I hope that's okay. You succeed at such a high level that they come to you and say, what are you doing? What are you doing different? Succeed at such a high level that everybody wants to follow you.
Good point.
Okay, guys, talk to me. All right, so I'll keep talking. Leads, listings, leverage. What comes first?
Leads.
Okay, cool. And what does that look like? Define lead generation for me. Anybody?
Putting yourself out there, asking for business.
Putting yourself out there and asking for business. Thank you, Michael. Guys, please take notes. These are good answers. What else? What does lead generation?
Appointments.
Okay, so lead generation, what I'm hearing you say is the purpose of lead generation is in order to schedule appointments, correct? Cool. What else? That's a great answer. Please write that down. What else? What does listen to my question closely, guys. What does lead generation look like to you?
Relationships.
Building relationships. Great answer. Please write that down. What else?
Continuous process on a daily basis, that you're filling a pipeline so that you're never idle.
Okay, so continuous process on a daily basis in order to fill a pipeline so that you're never idle. Good job, Alex. What does that look like? Back to Alex. What does that look like? A continuous
You are going to
process.
build a habit so that it becomes natural to you. If your habit is from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10, reaching out and making those, filling your goals. Your goal might be to put 3 people into command on a daily basis, or 3 contacts. You're going to go ahead and do that until you've reached your goal for that day, and you're going to move on to the following day and make it such a pattern. Like you said earlier today, you're making it such a pattern that you're almost doing it automatically. Pipeline on a daily basis.
Okay, Alex, you're doing great. So can I add on to that?
Please.
Okay, so at the end of the day, if I were to show up and if I had an accountability appointment with every single one of you and I asked you, did you hit your lead generation? Let me ask a different question. Were you in lead generation today? Yes. Cool. The next question would be, how would I know? How would I know that you were in lead generation? Prove it.
Documenting.
Okay, now the next question would be, what's your daily standard in order to achieve lead generation? Based on your definition. My definition is 20 conversations a day focused on building relationships, adding 1 person to my database, scheduling 1 face-to-face appointment with someone who's thinking of buying a home or selling a home. Now, and Gary Keller in the book Shift shares that your number 1 job every day, listen closely, your number 1 job every day is lead generation focused on new opportunity. And until that's done, everything else is a distraction. Everyone else is a distraction. So if we defined a work day based on hitting your lead generation standards, in other words, did you work today? Yep, I did. Well, tell me what you did. Well, I had 2 home inspections. I had to negotiate repairs. I had a closing. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, of course it's exciting. I prepared a listing to go in the MLS, and I met an appraiser at a property. Cool. That's a busy day, right?
But you didn't do 1 job.
That person didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
They,
the themes of you had 1 job.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Michael. That person didn't work. If your job, your number one job is lead generation focused on new business, that means every single day, not when you have time. Because when you master this, are you going to get busy? Say yes. And you never take your foot off the gas. Lead generation is always your number one job. So at the end of the day, Dave, Costella, were you in lead generation today? Dave says yes. And my response to that would be, how do I know? Prove it. Show me what you did. You have to define what lead generation means to you. It's not the same thing for everyone, because one person, they're going to go to network meetings every single day and they're going to have those conversations in a network meeting. Great, cool, as long as that gets your results. Another person is going to call for sell by owners and expireds. Awesome, as long as that gets you the results that you want. Another person is going to knock doors, they're going to farm, and they're going to make circle prospecting calls. Cool, as long as that's giving you the results that you want. You have to define lead generation for you, but the bottom line is you have to define it and you have to make it a standard. By the way, it's a non-negotiable standard. All right, a couple ahas and we're going to break.
Like you said, John, your question is, what does lead generation look like to you? For everybody, it looks a little different.
Sure.
For some people, it's one technique or another, FSBOs, expireds, internet leads, however that looks. And until you do that, you haven't really worked for the day because you're not feeding the pipeline. It's just like, what is the first thing that most of us do when we get up after we get showered and cleaned up? We eat, we fuel ourselves.
Yeah.
And our lead gen has to be our fuel. It's our fuel that allows us to continue to do the things that we do.
Love that.
And it'd be sort of like you not going through, yeah, there's times where we might fast for a day. But if we do that too long, we're just going to die. We can't fast forever. And same way, we have to eat. We have to fuel our bodies. And that's what allows us to continue to move forward.
Very well said, Michael. And if you were at Mega Camp last week, you listened to Gary as Gary was finishing his presentation. He always finished with, I've got calls to make. I've got to go, I have calls to make. What was Gary doing?
Lead gen.
Lead gen. Yeah, well, here I'll leave you with this. Gary Keller is a team leader. He is a team leader. He is a trainer. He is a business coach, and he is a recruiter for Keller Williams Realty. And not only is he a team leader, but he's the ¡1 team leader in our company. All I do every day is get up and chase Gary Keller. And I'll never catch him, which is cool because I'm on a constant pursuit of perfection. And if I ever did catch him, now what? All right. Time to get to work. 20 contacts, not 19, not 18. It's a standard. Don't forget, if you settle for 18, you never know what might have happened on 19 or 20. That might have been the $1 million listing you got and you didn't get it because you settled. 20 conversations focused on building relationships. They're care calls, not sale calls. Focused on getting an appointment. Get at least one face-to-face appointment every single day. It's a standard with someone who is thinking of buying their home or selling a home. And then put all of those people into a pipeline that you are going to systematically follow up with over time in order to create emotional proximity. Follow up forever, reject rejection. No is not a word that lives in your vocabulary. Eddie, I'm never going to hire you. Cool, talk to you in 2 weeks. Alex, if I ever listed my home, I'm listing with Victoria. Cool, talk to you in 2 weeks. Reject, rejection, follow up forever, right? And like Zig Ziglar would say, I'll see you at the top. Make it a great day, guys.
John, just glad to see you back.
Thank
Yeah.
you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Yes,
Good seeing you.
welcome.
Well,
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Glad to see you doing better.
Quack, quack.
Thank you, John.
My pleasure, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
I hope
John.
you're better.
Yeah.
Have a great